What are some of the best study hacks you've implemented? Med school student here. As I've been in school for essentially my entire life, it's been extremely important for me to master my study hacks. There are several that I use, but here are the top 3 I've found work for me. Get out of the house and to the library. I've found that it's easier to study if you go to an environment that's specific for studying. Oftentimes, we study where we watch TV, hang out with friends, etc. This confuses our brains as we associate certain habits with our environment. Leverage this to your advantage by going to an environment primed for studying. I like the quiet area of a library, but as long as it's for studying only, it should do the trick. Remove all distractions, especially your phone. We check our phones an average of every 4 minutes. The cost of interrupting focus work is clear. Leave your phone at home if you want to study. If you can't leave it at home, get a good screen time app. I use the Present Screen Time Control app because unlike blockers, it motivates you to stay off your phone through gamified challenges you can play with friends. But there are countless others out there. Find one that works for you. Repetition is key. We retain information way better if we study over time and repeat the materials. Don't try to cram everything all in one go. Study for short increments every day, and then make a habit of doing a short recap the next day. Even the smartest people lose information, so it's important to remind yourself what you've learned. Hope these help. If you play video games, find a long loop of the soundtrack on YouTube to play in the background. It really helps with my focus. Actually read the book before the class. In class, pay attention and take notes. You will remember better due to repetition and have a chance to ask questions. Doing the other way, it's harder to ask the questions you need. I find using multiple colors of pen helps. I can't remember what I type, so it has to be paper for me. Before finals, go through all of your notes, rewrite and condense it down to just a few pages. If you are in a math-based, make your own formula sheet, giving all the details how to use each. Colors are your friend. Then make the same formula sheet without the details. Will be closer to what a prof will give you. If you can bring in your own, even better. Just check to see what is or what is not allowed. Day before a test, make a time limit you do not study past. End with something you know well. End on a win. Sleep is better than perfect understanding. Past a certain point you get diminishing returns. Wake up early enough to take your time. Have a good breakfast and dress comfortable. But well, I find if I have a nice shirt on, I feel more confident. In the morning, review your short notes or formula sheet once 15-ish minutes. Do not do any practices. Bring water. Pee right beforehand. The curve is your friend. 1. Read it and write it down. Come up with memory aids. The appropriate aid will depend on the material being studied, but mnemonics are very important. Acronyms, pictures, stories about yourself as a hero, sexualizing the material, etc. all make recalling concepts much easier than trying to remember a bunch of dry, straight material. 2. Flashcards. Use flashcards and spaced repetition. Write it down, then read the key concepts an hour later, then an hour later, then a few hours later. Write it back down again in between. It seems like a lot, but it really should only take 5 minutes each time. If it's more than that, you're trying to learn too much at once. In most areas, you only need to know a few key concepts for the rest to click. 3. Again, write it down. If you're doing math, write down the equation. Don't try to solve any problems, just know the equation. Programming, write the algorithm, or at least a high-level but detailed description of it. Art history, quick sketch of the outline of the art and relevant dates or people or locations. I got straight A's at Berkeley one year and I'm not particularly smart. Liberal arts major. Here's the technique I followed. Go to every class, sit in the front row, take copious notes. Basically, transcribe the lecture. I recorded some lectures where professors spoke really quickly and I couldn't keep up. Rewrite your notes ASAP and fill in any missing information. Read the lecture notes over and over and over again until you know it inside and out. Professors test you on what they discuss in class, not what's in the textbook. You want to master what they discussed in class. I recorded the more difficult classes in law school, then replayed it while rewriting my notes. I was surprised at how much it made me understand the material. Agree that the professors test you on what they discuss in class. Find kids, if you can teach them in simple concepts, terms, and analogies. Recall is best when the study environment matches the recall environment. Best recall cues are scents. Chew, a particularly strong mint. Gum while encoding the info. Do the same during testing. Associative memory is also easier to recall, so create links to the encoded information that relate to subjects super familiar to you. I force myself to make flashcards for every single test. Making the cards helps you learn it, and memorizing the material is way easier when it's all written out for you to easily flip through and memorize. Plus, others can help you study them as well. This might just be me, but I find that keeping a consistent schedule works much better for me. Not in terms of having a planner or writing out your day, because I'm terrible at that, although I'm sure that would also be beneficial. But in the sense of aiming to complete a similar amount of work each day. I do much better if I'm to get a chunk of work done every day than if I am to get all of it done in one day, then have the next day off. If I ever find myself with a full day off, I find it a lot more difficult to be productive the next day. Kinda like Newton's first law. In addition to others mentioned, I've used oils lavender or orange during study and text taking to help with calmness. The studies are not conclusive that memory improves, but I like the approach. I'm a pediatric anesthesiologist and have made it through a few decades of studying. One big thing is to be able to get into study mode quickly. There are often a lot of small schedule gaps, 10-30 minutes throughout the day. Many of my peers have these elaborate study setups where they take 20 minutes to set up, then study for hours at a time. They were always amazed that I rarely needed these huge study sessions. Be ready to bust out your book or notes or flashcards, etc. Also, don't worry about reading entire chapters unless you have extra time. Record your lectures and listen to the recording while going over your notes. The book is for reference. Professors rarely test on stuff they don't say out loud. English student here. I study bare minimum, but I do retain what I study. Here's what I do. Get out of bed and go to either library or a coffee place, wherever. Basically not in my own room. Pomodoro technique works, but it takes time to develop. Start easy. Easy subject, easy concept. Then once your mind is in material absorb mode, go for subjects you fear. Scent is a key trigger for memories. Choose a specific scent and use it while studying for the exam and while taking it. I use peppermint candy. Helps get your mind focused on what you normally do while smelling that scent. I read this tip somewhere a while ago. It said to study before you go sleep or take a nap. Then waking up and studying again really helps the mind remember information better. What you've studied gets processed while you sleep. Then again after you wake up, when you go over the material again. I haven't studied in a very long time, but this seemed to help when I had no choice but to do it sporadically with whatever schedule I had at the time. I think it's worth a try, especially when your brain may need a quick rest after studying for a while. Here are some tips that have worked for me. Learn a subject by some other means than everyone else. Magazines, movies, or some other book than course literature. When you know something that everyone else doesn't, and you already know some subject when it comes up in class or at lecture, it feels good. You trick your brain into believing you are good at it, and then it becomes fun, and all of a sudden you are good at it for real. Study groups, more than one. Study with someone who know more than you, and also study at some other time with someone who know less. Try to help the one who knows less. For hard facts, use Anki-spaced repetition. Works great with anatomy, dates, factoids, and small pieces of info for memorization. 10 minutes rehearsal each day. Add 1 to 10 new items per day. Go read and study at the library. Get out of your normal place. Get away from home. Being a terms of coffee and your books. No laptop. Turn off the phone. No distractions. Realize that studying might feel boring, and that is okay. That doesn't mean you are not learning or that anything is wrong with you. Work is also boring sometimes. Brain just want to have fun. Make a study plan and stick to it. Learn that you are and can be disciplined and take pride in it. As many of the tips above, fake it till you make it. Behave and tell yourself and try to identify with the version of you that you want to be in terms of studying disciplined, hardworking, but allow yourself to relax when not studying, etc. And eventually you will turn into that version of yourself. Good luck. Have fun. Remember that studying at a university is a privilege. Not everyone have that opportunity. And when you look back at it later in life, as I do, you will remember it with fondness.